lot of familiar faces in this room. Some from doing the right thing, some from doing the wrong thing. Thank God those that I was doing the wrong thing with are in here doing the right thing today.
All right.
Thank God for that. I first met Sally when we were young and idealistic, and we just thought we were going to, get the world by the tail and turn things around and make it all right. Well, now here we are some 30-some years later, and we're still trying to hold on to that tail because things aren't right yet. Those who know me will say, oh Lord, here comes the troublemaker. And I am. And I'm going to continue to be until God calls me back home. Because I think anyone who sees a wrong and doesn't step up to try to right it really isn't doing all they can to stay on this planet and share the space with other folks. We all have an obligation. And I say that because I paid my dues. I have 34 years clean from heroin use. 13 years in alcohol, and Fred, I'm not where you are, because I have said to people, and will say, I'm in recovery, and I will tell folks, I get moody. And on some days, I can't beg, borrow, steal, or buy a spiritual principle, so go ahead. But that's just for today. Tomorrow may be different. When you live through some things, I thought my addiction was probably going to kill me, and it didn't, thank God. It left me with a little reminder of those days, because I also have hepatitis C. But the real challenge came when my daughter became addicted. Same drug, same behaviors. And I truly thought that was going to kill me. I practiced the grandfather of all addiction, and that is codependence. I had worked in drug and alcohol treatment. I was going to save her. This was my job. Well, the more I put my hand in it, the worse she got. And then it dawned on me, you gotta get out of your own way and hers. Because if you keep going, it dawned on me the night I was on my knees and I said to God, if you're not going to fix her, kill her. Take her life, because I can't bear the thought that somebody's going to knock on my door or going to call my phone and tell me that I have to come identify my child's body because she either overdosed or was killed by some drug dealer for trying to be slick, take their drugs, any number of things that can happen when you're out there on the street. I didn't want to see that happen to her, so I begged God to take her life before that happened. Instead, God showed me something else. He showed me how to get out of the way. And it was people like James Harrison and Sally, who always tells me the story about, I'll never forget the day we drove up to Green Station, my daughter, I'm breaking around in the old, to get methadone. It was 6 o'clock in the morning, it wasn't even light yet. And here we were with this infant in the car, my grandson. And I was letting my daughter out to go get her methadone, take her back home, and, hoping and praying that she didn't steal anything else from the house that day while I was at work. Because that's how we were living. Today she has 10 years clean, a master's degree, worked in this field, and I am very, very, very proud of her. She is a lot more like me than I would like her to be. But she works in this field, and she has the same passion that I do. I believe that anybody who's been through difficulty has got to get out there and give a hand up. My philosophy is when you're on that ladder of life, if you're on the 9th rung of that ladder, you should be extending hands two ways. One to go up to 10 and one down to 8 to pull that person up to your position. And you do that by being visible, by getting out with you. You can't stay behind closed doors. You cannot do it. In your neighborhoods, you have to get out there and tell drug dealers, I don't allow you on my block during the day. And if I see it at night, I'm calling the police. Can't hide behind closed doors. You have to get out and say to people, do you understand what this legislation is that we're trying to bring about? Needle exchange. Oh yeah, you want to give free needles to people to get high. You want to have more junkies out here than you had before. And you explain very calmly to them, because in the back of your mind you're thinking, Lord, you get into them. But you don't say that. You don't say that. You say, no, I think maybe you misunderstand what is going on. And you try to get these people to turn around and understand what an impact it makes when they call or write to the legislators and say, listen, we support this. Our neighborhood supports this. We have people in our families who need this service. Because, Fred's right, James is right. Some people will use until they die. I can remember back in San Diego, baby girl councils, I call them, the academics used to say, what is it about you guys that made you stop? What made you stop? They so wanted an answer so that somebody could write a paper and then publish it in a book so that they could come up with the cure. Well, there isn't. But the only thing you can do for someone who's an active addict is to love that person. Hold your pocketbook and your wallet, but love it. Always let them know that your door is open for something to eat. That you always will give them a ride to detox. You may give them a sandwich and make it eat it on the step, because God knows you can't trust them to come in the house. But you can still give them that sandwich and let them know you love them. You can still offer them that ride to detox. You can still stop the car and put your arms around them when you see them on the street and let them know that you love them. Because they're still people. And no matter how much they think you despise them, they despise themselves that much today. I hated who I was in my addiction. I thank God today that addiction is gone. I thank God today that my family is in recovery. We're now in our third generation of people with criminal justice problems and addiction. I have a 14-year-old grandson that I raised. Does not matter what you did, sacrificing sending to private school, taught him that there was more than the hood to life. Got him involved with ice hockey, one of the few black young men who played ice hockey way back, in the early 90s. He had guidance. He had a mother who was in recovery, a grandmother who had been in recovery. But when I had to open the door and let him out into the street, when he got with other people his age and his peers, he could not, with all the strength that we tried to give him, he could not resist the temptation to join his peers. Today, he is in South Dakota, serving 6 months or until he completes the program for a second-degree robbery and conspiracy charge. He's been out of my house since September 18th. If I had been asked to speak here 2 months ago, I wouldn't have been able to do it because I would have been in tears and unable to speak. It's taken me that long to be able to talk about it. My heart is breaking. I'm watching not only a child go through this, but now a grandchild. So if you want to talk about self-doubt, when I look in the mirror sometimes, I want to know what defect is in me that keeps raising addicts. And then I have to look back in that mirror and tell myself, it's not your defect. First step in recovery is to recognize your powerlessness, that you can only control one person, and that's you. I'm thankful today that I have that wisdom, and because I've learned how to keep my hand out of some things, I'm going to let God take care of the rest. Thank you so much for listening.